All right, cool. All right, so here we are with Damien Larkin, the other half of the Prince of Military Science Fiction that we all know for Trippanes. So,
Thank you very much.
so you just got randomly linked up with him the same way everyone else does on Instagram. You were just telling me.
Absolutely, he's like a magnet. He's got a very magnetic personality where you just can't help but like him because I think part of his core nature is he just does not give a fuck. You can see that in his books. He just writes whatever the hell he wants to write. Some absolute fucking batshit crap in there, like in book one alone, let alone the rest of the series. And you just can't help but gravitate towards him. So he's a great guy, very funny, very talented, and
Fuck yeah.
yeah, great person to know.
Yeah, he's I told him on the first time I had him on because I've had him on twice. I'm like, dude, you are a trip. He's like, well, that's not the first time I've heard that before. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's earned the nickname clearly, but yeah, like I think it's you can see it in his writing, even just how we'll just kind of pick random things and just expand on them and make them absolutely hilarious or heartbreaking. He does a fantastic job of kind of capturing the like the characters, making them real. Like they're not cardboard cutouts. You can clearly see that he's basing these stories off people he served with in the Marines or people he's
Mhm.
interacted with over time, and it gives it that real kind of authenticity. I think which really kind of builds that emotional connection into readers. So yeah, I mean he's fantastic at what he does.
Fuck yeah, he is. So you said you got your start in, I don't know what the RDF is. I imagine it's something Defense Force.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Reserve Defence Forces, so I think it'd be the Irish equivalent of what is the National Guard, I think, over in America. But the difference is we don't get paid for what we do for 99% of what we kind of had to do. So it's like a volunteer force where we kind of would have worked full-time jobs or we would have kind of been in college and we just enlisted because we wanted to do our bit, we wanted to serve our country. So I spent 7 years there in the infantry. I ended up as a mortar man in a weapons support platoon and absolutely loved it. Like it was a fantastic experience and something I'm constantly encouraging kind of young people in Ireland to get involved because it taught me so many lifelong lessons that I still use to this day. Whether it's kind of in business when it comes to the writing or with family and stuff, absolutely fantastic experience. They're horrific at times, very very tough. Like I'm sure any kind of service is, but really really enjoyed it. Take a lot of positives from it.
It's a roller coaster for sure. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's part of it, I suppose. I mean, they break you down, they build you up into something kind of completely different. We had a lot of kind of tough experiences, and I think like the boredom more than anything, which anyone can relate to. Like 99% of the time, you're just doing this repetitive, monotonous thing. But it's the 1% of time when you get to do really cool shit. That's when it kind of it makes up for it. Like one of my fondest
Yes.
experiences was we were training in UN officers. So Ireland has had a huge kind of contribution to the UN, kind of in terms of sending peacekeepers abroad for like the last 6 decades. And I
Mhm.
got to get involved in war games where we were training in new UN officers and stuff, and we got to play enemy, which means you basically get to torture a bunch of UN officers for like 2 weeks straight. And absolutely, fun times. Really, really enjoyed doing that. It's very rare when you get to do something to an officer over in Ireland, so getting to reap your
Yes.
revenge a little bit, was great fun.
Yeah, so stateside, it's called, so obviously, war games are the same thing, but they give them different names. It's called being
Yeah.
op for or opposing force. And everyone who I've spoke
Oh,
to
cool.
who's done is like, it's the best thing because you just get
Yeah,
to,
absolutely.
you get to like absolutely terrorize like whoever you're up against. So most of the time it's like, it'd be like your own company or maybe like a
Yeah,
neighboring company or sister company. And, but everything and so it's like, and then all their rules of engagement, how they're like going to react to stuff. So you can just
yeah,
absolutely have a blast.
absolutely. Just let it run
And I'm
wild.
like, that's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, really, really enjoy it. So
Yeah.
anyone who ever gets the opportunity to do it, just do it. There was no rules for us. Like we were like allowed to take off our uniform and wear kind of civvies, and we could kind of smoke whenever we wanted. And they even took us to a pub as part of the exercise. We're supposed to have showdown with the proper uniformed kind of force. We were like supposed to be a militia, and we got to have points. The officer bought us all points, and we're just hanging outside. So 3 o'clock in a random village in Wicklow in Ireland, which is very very rural, and we're all hanging outside with replica weapons while kids are coming back from school and parents are going back and forth to work and doing shopping. So it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
It
So
was.
all the pictures I've seen of Ireland, like it's very serene and bucolic. Is that like the whole place outside of the cities? Like it's just like rolling
Yeah,
green
pretty
hills
much.
and fucking awesomeness.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very like fantastic scenery out in the countryside, and there's some fantastic landmarks. I'd encourage anyone who kind of ever wants to visit Ireland do come over. It's fantastic atmosphere in terms of for tourists. There's lots to do. The local population very kind of welcoming, which is fantastic. You can have a bit of banter. You go to a local pub and stuff like that, and you can see the atmosphere, or what we call the crack. That's CRAIC. The crack is absolutely fucking 90. You have music, you've singing, you've just banter. It's a great experience. It's a lovely country to grow up in. Obviously, we had kind of a lot of turmoil when I was a child. There was a lot of terrorism going on up in the north of Ireland, which has since kind of calmed down since the Good Friday Agreement. So things are much kind of better than what they were. But yeah, I kind of highly recommend it to anybody who ever gets the experience, even if it's just for a couple of days when you're on your visit to Europe or whatever. Do come over, check it out. Absolutely beautiful country, and I love it.
I've heard nothing but great things from anyone and everyone who's been over that way, which
Long may
is,
that
yeah,
last.
a good number of people.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's huge,
So,
huge amount of tourism, especially from the states, which is great to see.
oh, fuck yeah. Well, there's a extremely large percentage of people in America who are like, I'm of Irish descent. That's just
Yeah,
like,
40 million or
fucking
something.
hey.
I think altogether, it's crazy. It's the I mean, so many Irish emigrated during the genocide called the Plato famine. Absolute millions. Like our population is only recovering now, nearly 150 years later, back to pre kind of genocide levels, which is fantastic to kind of see. But the amount of kind of Irish people who emigrated to America and made it their new home and kind of contributed to American society, even to becoming presidents, like everyone knows JFK and stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, like even in the likes of the US Civil War, having kind of Irish people fighting both sides and take part in many kind of historic battles. It's fantastic to see that people went over there and kind of carved out new lives for themselves and kind of helped build the American democracy into what it is today. Something absolutely fantastic.
No, you definitely see it in the larger cities in the Northeast. So, New York and Boston, huge Irish populations. Closer to where I'm from, so Niagara Falls is probably the closest landmark to it, but the big city there is Buffalo, New York. Giant Irish population still. Like the big three in my area is uh, Polish, Irish, or Italian. And if you're not
Yeah.
any of those three, you just get washed into Irish.
Ah,
So
brilliant. Yeah, that's
uh,
that's
and
really cool. Yeah.
that's the joke in the area. It's just like, oh well, you're either Polish, Irish, or Italian here. It's like you're not one of them. You're Irish now. It's just like okay,
Okay. Yeah, Irish by default. Happy days. The more the merrier. It's
yeah.
pretty good being Irish, so I'd say recommend it if you ever get a say in it. Yeah, just tell everyone you're Irish. We're very welcoming.
Well, that's good. I don't think I could pull that one off. I don't know. I tan easily. I'm Italian and Polish, so I got those ones going for me. I'm just like, okay, I don't know.
Look, and
But
there's nothing
Guinness
wrong
is
with
a
that as
fucking
well.
wonderful beer.
It is absolutely. Once it's done right, and we're very, very critical of how Guinness is done abroad. There's a certain way you have to pour it over in Ireland, and you have to kind of fill it up to about roughly about 7/8 of the way up to the top of the point. Then you leave it to settle for like 2 minutes, and then you top it off. And I mean, if you ever want to irritate an Irishman, it's show him a picture of a badly pulled pointing in his. It's a war crime in our kind of worldview, especially people who kind of just pour it in one setting and don't leave it settle. It's no, no, it's not happening. Not on our side. We will come over there and show people how
Right.
to pour points if needs be.
I got a question. You might smack an American for this, or you might not. I mean, I suggest doing it just because smacking people's fun.
Sure.
But so there's a thing over here. So obviously there's
Yeah.
the Guinness in the cans, and it comes with the nitro and all that. I don't know Ireland's
Yes.
feelings on that. We'll get to that one in a minute. But there's
Cool.
this newer shit in Guinness, and they have like there's an American thing with putting flavors in beers, and so I think it's like
Oh
a
God,
Guinness coffee nitro stout thing, and I'm like, what the
no,
fuck? My
that's
best friend
no.
said it's good and amazing, and I'm like, absolutely not. Listen, don't fuck with tradition, and also like, why?
Yeah,
Like in the early 2000s, we were against fruit and beer, and now you're drinking fruit and beer too. Like we're not putting fucking coffee in Guinness. Like if we're dropping anything in, we're doing car bombs, and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, car
you know
bomb
what
it
an
up.
Irish car bomb is, right?
Yeah, yeah, we call them Belfast car bombs over here. But I mean, there's a
Perfect.
lot of connotations to that one. But yes,
As long as we're on the same page for what it is.
yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and fantastic drinks to have if you want to blow your own mind. Yeah, I've plenty
Or
of
if you
little
don't
nights
like
like
the
that.
contents of your stomach.
Exactly, exactly. If you want to fuck things up, definitely car bomb it up.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. No, I've had
But
many a night on the
yeah,
car bomb.
good. Yeah, I mean it's great. It's definitely something that I would have done a lot more in my younger days, kind of like in my 20s and stuff like that. We have a huge nightclub over here in Dublin, and it's like the landmark place that everybody, once the pubs are closed and the late bars are closed, everyone goes to Coppers. And I mean, everybody in Dublin goes to Coppers. That's the name of it. Because it's open for a good 2 hours after all the other late bars go, and people just get messy drunk, and it's shots everywhere, and it's just mouldy. I mean, it's not even a nice place to go to. It's just the fact that it's big and it stays open late. But it's just one of those places that if you ever visit Dublin and you're on the session, as we call it, you want to end up in Coppers towards the end of the night just to see the absolute mayhem of it. People just mindlessly drunk all over the shop, singing, dancing, just crazy shit. Yeah, add that to your list if you ever make it over to Dublin.
Fucking A. Yeah, I might do that, even though I don't really drink anymore, but just to see it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just even just to you go in there, you don't have to drink yourself, but just you need to witness it. You can just like make that part of your bucket list that you can just say you spent half an hour on Coppers at like 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, 3 o'clock in the morning, just to see how absolutely crazy and messy it is. It's an experience. Take loads of pictures. It'll be great.
Nice. So I think we should get started on the book. So the Big Red
Sure,
series, right?
that's
Which
right. Yeah.
has nothing to do with
So it's
the chewing gum.
no, I only found out like it was the name of like a chewing gum brand, and I think it's something to do with Cornell as well at college. I think their mascot is called Big Red. I only found all this out after
Probably.
I kind of came up with the name. So yeah, it's basically it's Irish. What I bill it as Irish military science fiction, which in itself isn't something you'd kind of hear too much of because look, most military science fiction would come from like an American perspective, or it'd be that type of thing. It'd be a big kind of world power or something like that. And part of the reason why I wanted to kind of get into it was I didn't see a lot of Irish people in kind of in media or kind of portrayed in what I consider an accurate fashion. And they always say kind of write the book that you want to read. And rather than kind of write a book that we've all seen or kind of like movies where it's these gung ho American Marines go in and do their thing or whatever, I was like, right, I want to do one from my perspective. So I decided to kind of write it, from the point of view of an Irish soldier. And he's not a super soldier. He's not like some elite Marine. He's not like ripped, built with fucking loads of muscles. He's not like a fantastic shot. He's a good soldier, but that's about it. So he's kind of like one of those middle and averaging type of people, and it kind of goes through his experiences of a year deployment in Mars, where he finds out that there's colonies on Mars that have been kept secret from humanity. They were founded by the Nazis in the 30s, so most of the population there are descendants of kind of Nazis. And he's brought in essentially, as a reservist in the sense that not frontline duties, but as time goes on, they find out that there's a genocidal war taking place on Mars where there's these kind of alien creatures that the Mars Occupation Force are trying to basically destroy. And as casualties mount, these kind of non-frontline kind of soldiers get moved onto the front line, and it details their experiences of it. So it's the frustrations of their command structure, of not having the support that they need to get the job done, essentially being used as cannon fodder in certain instances, not being told the bigger picture, what's going on, and the whole time having like a population descended from the Nazis who are openly hostile to kind of Allied interference in what they consider their legacy and so forth. So it's a bit of a like mind bender because there's a lot of twists in there. It's not as simple or straightforward as that. I do love to kind of throw people off. I'm quite a big fan of misdirection in writing, so what you see isn't necessarily what you get. But that was my first book, and then I kind of segued into two other books then afterwards, Blood Red Sand and Blood Red Steel, which are more kind of a bit more kind of violent. They deal with the original events of how the Allied forces took over the colonies from the Nazis, and obviously all the kind of pitfalls that they had with that one. One of the things I like to, I think we've probably gotten the most reaction from kind of veterans or people who've kind of served in the military, are when they see how many little things go wrong, which is something that I experienced from my time. And one of the best examples that constantly referenced to me is in one of the opening chapters of Blood Red Sand, which is the second book. All these soldiers from Britain and France who have been in hibernation, they're being sent to Mars to oust the last remnants of the Third Reich. But when they're getting their gear together to launch the actual ground invasion, they realise that they've been training with EVA suits that are kind of camoed red and black to fit in with the Martian background. But the EVA suits they have on board the ship are all white, so it's going to stand out against the background. And that's just one of those things that I've kind of seen in terms of kind of military leadership and logistics, where quite often don't have the equipment that you need to get the job done. You still have to do that job, but something as common sense as having, EVA suits that are painted red and brown so you can fit in with the background. No pencil pusher ever thought of that. So they just handed them standard white suits, which means that the enemy can see them from miles away and can kind of pin them down and shoot them. So I really enjoyed it as an experience actually writing it. It was good, cathartic.
Yeah. No, I remember actually something similar to that legitimately happening in the initial
Yeah,
invasion of Iraq. Um, so in the initial invasion of Iraq, they were very worried about Saddam using chemical weapons against the
yeah, yeah.
invading force. This is the 2003 invasion, not the 1991. Uh,
Right.
and so everyone gets issued the general desert camouflage uniform, and also what
Yeah,
mop gear is, right? The chemical weapon suit, military
yeah,
or
yeah,
mission oriented protection protective posture is what it stands for, which makes no sense for a chemical weapon suit.
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
but they were all woodland green.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
madness in a desert environment. It really is. So
yeah.
it's yeah.
I also
I
heard
think that's something that everyone
another
really
one,
experiences.
and another thing that's similar to that is, uh, so this was told to me by one of my sergeants, and I was
Yep.
air wing, and they were doing something along like the Euphrates River,
Right.
or maybe it was the Tigris, one of the two rivers, and one of the intelligence people was like looking at maps, going, "Oh, okay, there's a bunch of trees there. Well, so there's a bunch of trees there, so everyone should be wearing woodland uniforms. Well, it's sparsely populated with palm trees, and it's
Yeah.
still very brown everywhere. So like they
Right.
drop off this unit, and like they're all wearing green in a still very brown environment. He's just like, that's
Yeah.
military intelligence for you in a nutshell.
It really is. It really is. You couldn't make it up. It's that type of scenario. Like it's some like the lack of common sense I find is just like how can you not just see the bigger picture? How can you not take all these details together and kind of figure it out? Like if you're going to a desert environment and you're being issuing green uniforms, it's like come on, you're going to stand out. But again, it's I suppose it's military planners across the planet. It's not just confined to the United States. It's everywhere. It is. It's mind numbing. Is the best way I can describe it. But it is what it is.
I think it has a lot to do with, there's a very military thing of, I don't think it's just American, I think it's worldwide, of, hey, new guy, we need you to do this. The person that's in charge of doing this and can do it very well, so it'd be like your sergeant or staff sergeant,
Yeah.
uh, like they're trying to train 15, 20 people at it. They're bored of doing it. They're kind of pissed off at doing it. Their
Yeah.
life's a mess probably by now. And they're just annoyed. And you need to be doing it as well as they can, or else you're going to get
Yeah.
fucking reamed. So you're just kind of like sweating bullets going, oh, fuck, what do I do? Hope I don't miss anything. And you missed like half of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's the joys of it.
But
It
that's how
is.
you get better.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I probably learned more from making mistakes than I did from, classroom stuff or being out in the field. It's when you fuck up is when you kind of it gets drilled into you essentially, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like how everybody learns, I suppose. And it's a fair point. It is something like you said, it's universal. It's not just United States where you do have these kind of sergeants who are just frustrated and just trying to get the job done, and you just have to go with it, and hope for the best.
Mhm. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
it is what it is.
so Big Red is the precursor to Blood Red Sand and then
Yeah,
Blood Red Steel. So, how many
yeah,
books are
that's
there
right.
so far? Just the three?
Just a three at the minute. So I was kind of working on a few more in the series, and I actually have the direct sequel to Big Red done. So, I mean, for clarity, it involves elements of time travel. So, the likes of the first book, takes place originally in 2018, and then there's a time travel element in there. I won't spoil it for kind of anyone who hasn't read it. Blood Red Sand and Blood Red Steel are technically set about 20 years before the events of Big Red, but again, due to the time travel angle, you see some characters as younger versions of themselves, and you see other characters show up within the kind of narrative. So it's a bit kind of tricky. I like to describe Blood Red Sand as like a prequel sequel in the sense that you know it does take place 20 years before the events, but the main narrative from Big Red does continue on into it. So I know it sounds absolutely batshit crazy, but it's one of those things when you actually read it, it makes more sense than me trying to explain that it's a prequel sequel. But yeah, I've got the three now. I've actually written a fourth book, which was called Born Red, which was supposed to take up um, with events from Big Red set 8 years after the end chapter of Big Red, and kind of does like a full circle in terms of the story. But I'm still kind of working on it now at the minute. So I've kind of branched off into a few different other projects. It is something that, as a series, I would like to kind of finish at some point and get all wrapped up nicely, but no kind of confirmed dates now at the minute. So it's on the radar.
Mhm. Nice.
But yeah, enjoyable. Yeah, keeps me out of trouble.
Okay. So, is that what you do full time? Is right, or do you have a regular job too?
Yeah, regular job. So I mean, I wish I was writing full time. It's what I'm building up to, and it's something that like I'm the type of person when I set my mind to something, I will achieve it. It doesn't matter how long it takes, type of scenario. So I have it in my head that whether it takes me a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, I'm going to get to where I want to be, and that will be making a full time living off writing. Haven't quite cracked the formula just yet, which is frustrating, but it is what it is. It's all part of the slog. I'm enjoying the journey, but yeah, I work full time as a planning analyst, which is even more boring than it sounds. But I like it as a job. It's good, kind of provides kind of a stable income. It's good in the sense that I have a good work life balance. I can spend time with my wife and kids, and got the weekends off most of the time. So it's good. But it's not what I want to
Mhm.
do. It's not what I love, which is writing. So I'm just constantly in what little spare time I have. I'm constantly trying to write and figure out what to do next. And to give you an example, like I have like a 40-minute lunch every day, and I have a 15-minute break in the morning, the afternoon. So I'll combine my 15-minute break in the morning and my 40-minute lunch, and for 55 minutes I'll write. So I'll just write nonstop, and then I'm straight back into the job. And then when I finish up my shift, a few minutes spare, I'll do a bit more. So I'm constantly tipping away at it. It's something that I just really want to do, and I have to put in the time to get there, and I will get there. So it's mind over matter.
Well, yeah. No, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. But what they say is like if you love doing something, you'll never work a day in your life. And like I'm 37 now, I never really knew what I wanted to do for like my entire life, up until I was about 5 years ago, and I worked as just as a bit of a side project, as a bit of side hustle for money. I was an app developer, so I ended up creating a set of different emoji apps, which were very popular at the time, and had three different projects. I had a contract with an American model and an American company, and then another person over in America. And it was a profit split project. So it was basically I developed the app, get the graphics all done, and then we go 50-50 on the profits and stuff. And basically all three projects fell through in a very short space of time after launch, and I like didn't make a fraction of what I'd invested into it. So it was one of those situations where I might as well have taken a big stack of money and just set it on fire. That's what it was like. So I had a real what they call It's the phrase they call it, long night of the soul, where you're kind of soul
Yeah.
searching. You're asking yourself, what is it I want to do? What am I trying to do? And I realized that one of the reasons I got involved in the app development side of things was I wanted to create a stream of income so that I could get to a point where that was my full time job, and then I could dedicate all my free time to writing. And I realized then at that moment that I just cut the middleman out and I got rid of my app development business and just focused on the writing full time. And I think within about 3 months of making that decision, I had my first ever book done, which it's since unpublished. It's a book called Children of the Dying, that too was a flop. It was absolutely just crashed and burned. I realized I made a lot of amateur mistakes. Now, looking back at it, and I'll own that I didn't really know what I was doing. I wrote about 100,000 words, I think, in that manuscript and edited a few times, but it was still all over the shop. Looking at it now, just very, very messy and just not done the right way. But I took everything I learned from, what you could class that as a failure. I took everything I learned and then wrote Big Red, and then went on to get a publishing contract with Dance and Lemur Press over in North Carolina. And 3 books later, you know, obviously gotten a lot of constructive and positive feedback about it. And then I have kind of 3 other books that I've currently are unpublished now at the minute that I'm aiming to kind of publish later in the year. So it's working out, you know. Maybe not the way I expected, but it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
That's good. No, I didn't know you were
Yeah.
signed. I thought you were like Trip and just releasing them on your own on Amazon.
No, so I mean, I started off as a self-published author. So
Mhm.
that was my first book, Children of the Dying. I did that myself, but I ended up taking part in back when Twitter, when it was called Twitter. Um, I know it's X nowadays or whatever, but back in Twitter in the day, and even to this day, they still have these things called Twitter pitch events, which basically at a certain predetermined time, you can put your book in a tweet form, so like 240 characters or whatever it is now, and then pitch it. And during the say 12-hour period, agents and publishers will kind of have a look at all these tweets, and they see something that's on their wish list, they like it, which is basically an invitation to kind of pitch directly to them. So I took part in one of these. It's run by the Insecure Writer Support Group, which is a fantastic network of writers across the world. They did their
Also, a
pitch event.
fantastic
I kind
name.
of Yeah, it is. It really is, and it's kind of nail on the head. It is, but they're great people in terms of resources, in terms of kind of support and networking and stuff like that. So I took part in their pitch event. I ended up getting 3 likes, eliminated one. So I had like 2 publishers based in the States who were kind of interested, submitted to them, and then signed into Dance and Lemur Press in North Carolina. So, which is a great experience. The publisher there, the main publisher, L. Diane Wolf, she's absolutely fantastic. I always say it, and it's true. I learned more of her in the first month of signing that contract about writing and about the business of writing than I had done in about like a year of kind of research. So it was great at that time in my career to have someone I could lean on who could kind of mentor me a little bit in terms of style and technique and getting a book out there. To the point that now I will be kind of self-publishing again. I'm got 3 unrelated books that I'm aiming to get out this year, but I've learned so much from her that it's kind of going to help me with my career, and it's going to help me today. So it's a great experience. Really enjoyed it.
So, have you ever gotten over to North Carolina or anything like that to see that?
No, no, I've never been to the United States. Unfortunately, it's something that
Oh,
I've kind
okay.
of always wanted to do. It's on my list. I've got 2 kind of children. I've got like a 10-year old and my son. He's going on 9 now next month. So we had like obviously 3 years of kind of COVID and kind of lockdown type stuff, and before that they were a bit younger. So it just would have been tough in terms of the flights. But now that they're kind of getting older, it's something that I want to do. Myself, kind of Trip, Tam, and Michelle, we kind of chatted about visiting Gettysburg. That's one of my go-to places. I'm a bit of a history nerd. I love all that, anything to do with historical battles, and I've read up on the American Civil War. And I said, right, if I'm flying over to America, I want to see Gettysburg. I just want to, kind of get a vibe for the landscape. I want to kind of see where the pitched battles happened. I want to visit all these different sites and stuff like that. So they were all telling me that Gettysburg apparently is a party town. So there's like loads of pubs and it's great atmosphere and stuff. So that's high on my list when I get there.
There's also some badass ghost tours at Gettysburg.
I've heard that. Yeah, yeah. There's something about like I think it was one of the lads he was telling me that there's some sort of it's like a hole or something in a wall, and if you listen to it, the dead talk back to you or something like that, or ghosts, or you think you can hear ghosts or something. So I was like, yeah, I have to check that out. That sounds cool.
I'm not sure about that one. I may or may not have heard that one before, but I know they have random ghost tours of, or they're not random, they're probably scheduled, of
Cool. Yeah.
like the actual battlefield and stuff. And every once in a while, like people will legitimately, like not just one person, but like the entire tour will be like, "Oh, that's cool that you guys set that up." But like, we didn't set up shit.
No
Like,
way.
they'll think that
Brilliant.
like people will see like what they think are like reenactments, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's cool. They set up a reenactment." It's like we didn't like these are legitimate, like not like mass hallucination things. Like
Yeah.
people like flat out fucking seeing stuff at Gettysburg where it's just like, oh my god. But like, yeah, that
That sounds so cool.
there's I can't guarantee that it'll happen to you, but I mean, it's more likely to go there and see it than to not go there and see it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, stuff like that will obviously add to the notoriety of it. So yeah, 100%. I'd love to go on ghost tours in Gettysburg. So thank you for the tip. I'll definitely check that out.
Well, I mean,
I'll
once you
definitely
get
get
there,
that
I'm
filled.
sure you'll see you'll they'll be like, I wouldn't know how to describe it, but like you get into the area and you'll start seeing like road signs and shit like that. Or if
Yeah.
you even type in Gettysburg tours before you go, ghost tours will come up and things like that. Especially if you go around fall. Because,
Right.
right around Halloween, spooky season time, like everyone starts pushing those haunted hay rides,
Yeah.
ghost tours. If you've also never been on a haunted hay ride, I highly recommend it because they're just fun.
Yeah. Never have. No. That sounds cool. Yeah. I will. Yeah. I'll
Oh,
definitely add that to
yeah,
the list.
okay. I have to tell you about this one then. So, there's a local greenhouse up by me, and
Yeah.
so for their, it's basically like the end of the grow season, fall. So
Yeah.
they're running out of things to do. They're shutting down for the winter. So what they do is they get their male employees to dress up in like full sports regalia as much as they can,
Right.
just covering everything, dress them up like zombies, and then they hook up a bunch of paintball guns onto like one of their fucking wagons and like line people up on it, and like they take you through this fucking the woods and drive you around, and you're just fucking lighting up zombies with
Oh,
paintball guns
amazing.
off fucking side of the tractor. Well, a tractor pulled like fuck, what would you call it? Like a tractor. It's not a fucking wagon, but something pulled by a tractor that can like carry people. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I've done it more than once. It's super fucking fun because I'm just like,
That sounds
just
amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Shooting zombies all day long. Yeah. Love it.
yeah, and it's so fucking fun. Like it's just like yeah, every time you have to refill the paintball gun, like it's like $5 or $10 or something stupid like small where it's just like I am going
Yeah.
to blow so much money today.
And right, yeah. I mean, you can't beat it. You know, it is. It's like paintballing is fun in itself. I've gone a few times, and it is one of those like take my money situations where it's like, sure,
Mhm,
whatever it takes to reload, so I can take those fuckers down. But obviously with zombies and stuff, that's just an added dimension. So yeah, sign me up for that. Yeah,
mhm.
love it. Great idea.
Yeah, that was my favorite haunted hayride because it wasn't even a haunted hayride. It was just a fucking great time. But normally it's just like
So
you
the
get
best.
pulled around a tractor in the woods and like somebody dressed like a
Yeah,
werewolf will jump out of like behind of a tree or something stupid.
cool. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
they're
that's what it's
interesting.
all about, novelty factor. You know, it is. It's, it sounds like a bit of fun. You know, like a good way to spend an afternoon. So, and then a few beers after. Yeah, sold. I'll let you know when we're heading
Yeah.
over to Gettysburg. See if you're in the area. You can show me how it's done proper about taking down these zombies. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they have that by them. I'm probably a good 5-ish hours away from there by drive, which isn't bad because,
Yeah.
the East Coast is pretty compact. It's just
Right.
dense with stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard, and it's still, it blows my mind. And Like even kind of Trip made a really good point on Instagram where I think people were kind of saying to him, how come you've never visited this state in America and you've never visited that state? And he took a picture of the United States and then superimposed it over Europe just for context. And it's like the west coast of the United States is, say, Ireland, and the east coast is somewhere in fucking Russia, you know, which is absolutely
Mhm.
crazy when you think about it. Like, for me, it takes me what, like, if I were to drive from east coast to west coast in Ireland, it's the guts of maybe 4 hours at most, you know. Whereas, I mean, you're driving from point A to point B and it's 5 hours, and that's probably only from one state to another or whatever, let alone going right across the coast, you know. So it's crazy just in context how kind of big America is compared to everywhere else, you know.
Yeah. No, I will say I was doing a job in New York City, which
Yep.
is it's like 7 hours from where I live. Like the other side of the
Right.
state is fucking 7 hours away, and it's an entirely different world because my side of the state is very peaceful, bucolic, and
Yeah.
it's fucking grapevines because they used to make Welch's
Cool.
grape juice and grape jelly there, but
Right.
they've
Yeah.
switched to wines now. And so, like, it's a very grape heavy area. It looks like very
Yeah.
agricultural. New York City is New York City. Everyone knows what it looks like.
Yeah.
And so, working in New York City, and the client that I was working for, the dude that was like watching over the project with me, he was from
Yep.
Australia. And he was
All
just
right.
having the best time. Like, he's just like, I'm here on, like, I guess it was a green card. I'm here on a green card.
Yeah.
And so, like, every weekend or every, like, long holiday, he was just doing, like, wild things. He's like, I'm going over here and doing this. And it's just like another state. It's like, I went to Texas and I rode a bus through. And he's just like, I took a train, went up to like Niagara Falls, like I did this, and he's like up and down the coast and all over. I'm like, man, I fucking lived here my whole life and I haven't done half the shit you do. Like, holy shit. He's just like, so Australians all mate, and I'm just like, fucking A.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, is the pure novelty factor, and I suppose it's something that, I mean, yeah, you've lived there your whole life, so it's just one of those things where it's um it's something that I suppose maybe it's always on your mind to maybe go here or go there, but to everyone outside, it's like Jesus, America's this huge country. There's so much to see and do. So in whatever kind of short time you have to kind of spend there, like you want to see everything, you know. And that's coming from like some of my friends have kind of traveled over to America and kind of relatives and stuff like that, and there's just constantly kind of looking for things to do and things to see and check out all the amazing sites and stuff. You know, it strikes me as one of those things that you could have an entire lifetime and still not see 90% of all the amazing things over there in America. So I mean, fair play to the Aussie fella. Got to be done.
Oh, hell yeah. Now, I will say, living and growing up where I live, so like within an hour of Niagara Falls, like, whenever someone comes to visit growing up, or even when I got older, it's just like, did you want to see Niagara Falls? And like, I'd take people to Niagara Falls. And when I was
Yeah.
younger, I thought it was annoying after about the third time. But then,
Right.
when I got older and then brought one of my friends and they're just like mind is blown because like we walked across the bridge into Canada and they're like, we're in a different country now. I'm like, I mean, technically, yeah. It's just like,
Yeah.
so there's just an imaginary line in the sand. I'm like, yeah, it's just kind of like a state. It looks the same. He goes, yeah, it really does. I'm like, I know, it's crazy.
Yeah. Really is. It's mad for context. But I mean, it just goes to show it's something like you said it yourself, you've been there 3 times yourself, and it kind of the magic fades a little bit. But remember that first time you saw it, probably just blew your mind. And same for anyone else. It's probably one of those things where you have to see it to believe it, to really kind of understand it, you know? So
Oh, but the really fun thing is actually doing the tourist trappy things at Niagara Falls. So they have this
right.
boat down
Yeah.
at the bottom called the Maid of the Mist, which drives up like pretty close to it. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
close it is, and then like you wear a poncho and you get covered in mist, and it's pretty fucking cool actually. Like
Cool.
it's kind of weird. And you're just like, well, this is fucking wild.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then so there's one on the American side and one on the Canadian side, so you can take it from either spot. And then on the American side, where it's more rocky, uh,
Yeah.
they built like a bunch of decks and stuff, so you can like walk up like literally really close, like
No way.
within inches, and like the splash will come land on your feet, and that's called the
Oh,
Cave
cool.
of the Wind decks. So that's pretty fucking cool
Ah,
too.
deadly.
And then
That
I
sounds fun.
haven't the the Canadian side. They just keep building up and keep building up like a tourist trap. So there's like a
Right.
bunch of chain restaurants, a casino, um, all sorts of shit. But I remember when I was a kid there once, there was like this video tour that like took you over the falls.
Oh wow, yeah.
And so like, I don't know if you've ever seen the things of like people going in the over the falls in like a barrel and like trying to live. But
Yeah,
that
I've
was
heard
like a
about that, yeah.
big thing in like the 1900s of like people trying to go over the falls in a barrel and live. And like, guess how many did? Not a lot.
No,
But
I
like,
wouldn't say many, yeah.
yeah, there's this thing that like tried to take you over. And then it's really fucking dark. But my ex wife's aunt used to take her
Yeah.
to the casino up there, and they'd get a room that would overlook the falls and try and wait and watch for jumpers.
No way.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
because
Did you ever actually see any
it's a
jumpers?
really a few times they did, yes.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a
That's
really popular suicide spot.
Jesus. I would have never. I mean, it kind of makes sense now that you say it out loud, but it's not something I would have kind of associated Niagara Falls with, you know. But fucking hell, that's crazy.
Yeah, so like basically what it is when you jump into the upper Niagara River,
Yeah.
like before the falls, the current is so strong, nothing can stop it. So like as soon as you get in that
Right.
water, like you're going over the falls, there's no choice now. Like you've made your decision. And then when you actually go over the water and in,
Yeah.
like the volume is so much that it just keeps pushing you down because you're something to push against. So you're going to die
Right.
or
Yeah.
you're going to get battered against the rocks. And so like you'll come down and the water just rotates under the falls like this. So it'll keep you under,
Yeah. Yeah.
bash you against the rocks. Like you're going to die.
Fucking hell, that's a rough way to go. Like Jesus. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pass. I will pass on that. That's yeah. Yeah.
I
Nasty.
will too.
Yeah.
And that's
Fuck.
and that's why all the like going to like the cave of the winds and the maid of the mist like little boat thing are like kind of like holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds intense. A lot of the list. Like I said, it is something I kind of when I do get over to America, I want to make sure I hit as many kind of like hotspots as possible. So yeah, that sounds great to see at least once. You know, I wouldn't mind checking it out.
No, yeah, there's a ton to see, and depending on the time of year, you can have a blast anywhere in America.
Yeah,
Well,
I've
maybe
heard
not anywhere,
stories.
but like
So yeah,
pick your time of year and then pick the area of America based off that. So like
yeah,
winter, I can go to
okay,
Florida
gotcha.
or California,
Yeah,
or unless you're in the mountains, go to the mountains.
yeah, like that's a good show. You know, I did kind of want to kind of see Florida at some point again because I've kind of heard so many great stories about it, and obviously with my children and stuff like that, I'd love to check out some of the likes of Disney World and all that. So it's on the list. It is on the list. But yeah, so fair play for the tips.
Disney World is a place that's designed to separate your wallet from its contents, just so you're
Yeah.
aware.
Oh
And
yeah, I
they
went
are
to the
very
one in
effective at
Paris, and it's yeah, it's crazy. It is, and it's worth it for the experiences alone, especially when you have kind of like children and stuff like that. Like mine were kind of fairly young when we went, so they had an absolute ball, really
Mhm.
enjoyed it. But I think it's just I want to see the American version and kind of check that out in comparison, which I'm sure it's probably 10 times better. But yeah, it's just as kind of even if it's once, I'd like to kind of say I kind of visited it once just to see, compare notes.
I would be interested to see it now because I went to the one in California when I was probably like
Yeah,
10, 11. It was pretty awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I'd be
good.
interested to see either that one or the Florida one now that like they own Star Wars and a bunch more other stuff. So I'd like to see like
Yeah,
huge Star Wars fan growing up. Yeah,
absolutely.
so
Yeah,
I mean
self doubt.
that's how I got
Yeah.
into sci-fi.
Yeah, which is great. You know, I think a lot of us kind of started with that. Like I would have grown up. and kind of watched the films on TV. And then I was there for the 25th anniversary when it got re-released in cinema and stuff. So it was fantastic to actually kind of, experience that world, and absolute phenomenal kind of storytelling. And then obviously we had the three kind of prequel kind of movies come out then, which I liked parts of them. I know there was a bit of backlash against Jar Jar Binks, which yeah, well, he can be a bit of an annoying thing, but like I think the story overall, I really enjoyed what it did for the saga. And then we've had the newer films since, which are a bit, still enjoyable for me. I like kind of like stories are rounded out and kind of how they're expanding on it a good bit. Certain bits I was a bit confused on, but look, it is what it is. I'm not one of those who gets really upset when it comes to franchises and stuff. Um, I did think it was a bit strange with the newer films how like with what they call the New Order or whatever those the new kind of Empire lads are. I thought that was a bit mad how they built essentially like the Death Star 2.0. And from my perspective,
Yes.
was like, right, could we not think of something a bit more original? Like it's been done. Like we've had the Death Star. Let's move on to something kind of else now. Try it a different way, but it is what it is.
I was really hoping that they wouldn't kill off the expanded universe and we'd actually get to see the fight against the Yuzon Vong.
Who's that now? Sorry, I don't know about that.
Oh, so in the Star Wars Expanded Universe book series,
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
what it was like the Death Star wasn't even the tip
right,
of the iceberg of shit that the Empire was building. And they were
nice,
planning for an invasion from this other galaxy or other dimension. I forget which what it is, but it was a group of an alien race called the Yuzon Vong or Yuzon Vong, and they hated technology in all its forms.
right,
So
right,
like their ships were biologically made, their armor was biologically made and could like regrow. And like they were
right,
ferocious warriors and the entirety of them hated technology and the force
yeah.
was useless against them.
Cool. Were they the ones? Did they take the souls or something like that? Take soul energy or something? I don't know if it's them specifically, but I remember reading something
I
in the
don't
expanded
remember.
series about like an outpost, and it was like a young force, kind of strong, non-trained Jedi, got taken by this alien race, and they'd use. He was like I used him as a conduit to kind of drain the life force from humans and stuff to kind of feed them and all. It was fantastic. But I don't know if it's the same kind of species, but it was really kind of interesting. But geez, that sounds crazy good.
Oh yeah. And no, that's like the first thing that that Disney said when they bought it is like the expanded universe is dead. It's not happening in anything they do.
Yeah,
And like now they're starting to like run out of stuff where it's just like,
yeah,
come on, expanded universe. Let's see.
yeah, exactly. Revive it because I mean, I wouldn't have read all the books, but I read kind of some of the ones kind of set just after the movies, and I think there's a
Mhm.
young YA kind of young adult series about the young Jedi where it's kind of Leia and Han Solo's kind of had two children who were twins and they were kind of being trained by Luke and he was trying to resurrect the Jedi Order, and I thought that was fun. And obviously Grand Admiral Thrawn, just absolute fucking mind blowing character. His kind of trilogy, where he's trying to find this lost fleet and kind of reconquer the empire and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in there. It's very surprising. You just say right that doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, let's hope they resurrect it.
Oh hell yeah. No, that'd be
Yeah,
fucking
I don't
badass
know.
and I'd love it.
Yeah, more Tron related stuff. I liked him as just as a bad guy. Like any appearances he ever made in the books that I read were just absolutely crazy, crazy good. And I think they've done a couple of prequel books. I've only read one of them, where it's kind of how Tron came into the service of the Emperor, and he starts off as a lieutenant, and he's like a fucking military genius already, and just his logic and his thinking and why he does the things he does, and how he kind of ascended to become Grand Admiral. It's like I'd build a series entirely on that, just start to finish his career. Just a fantastic character. Like the only
Wow.
like non-human Grand Admiral, which kind of says it all.
Yeah, that's badass. So what'd you think of the Mandalorian?
Loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I
Hell
think it's
yeah.
just like it's just so like fun and interesting. It was well shot. I really dig the cowboy vibes off it. It kind of just gave me flashbacks to those cowboy films when you have this lone kind of like a gunslinger who's kind of on a mission and he's battle hardened and he's weary, but he's just doing what he knows best. and then kind of having that type of a character link up with the child, like that type of thing was just fantastic chemistry. There was great stories, great setting, great action. Couldn't get enough of it. So I'm really kind of looking forward to when they do a new series on it, because it's just great. And I like Boba Fett too as well. I thought that was very interesting. It was a bit different seeing him as kind of like a good guy, but I thought, geez, that was really, really, fantastic how they developed it. I tried to watch Andor and I wasn't vibing it at all. I think I watched 2 episodes and
I
I
had the same.
just couldn't connect with it as a story. It was just too slow paced. So yeah, I mean, they seem to be doing very good with the spin-offs. Even like the Obi-Wan Kenobi spin-off, I thought that was excellent in the sense that like you're seeing you've never really seen Obi-Wan Kenobi as someone who's nervous or kind of jittery or lacking kind of that self-confidence, and to see him as a bit of a broken man kind of hiding away, just and then come back into himself and stuff. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And then the showdowns with Vader and stuff, and even having the kind of like Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, and it like was brilliant. So I love if they kind of develop that kind of side of things a bit more.
Oh, yeah, I love that they showed the story of Rogue One too, and the
Oh, that was
stealing of the
epic. That
Death
was
Star
absolutely
plans
brilliant.
leading into that. Oh fuck yeah!
Yeah,
No, that one was just like
that really was.
then right there at the end when Darth Vader's just like like shows you that scene of him just like laying through before like the opening sequence to episode 4, which is A New Hope, where it's
Yeah,
just like on Princess Leia's ship, where you're just like, oh my fuck.
it was so good. It really was. And that's what I think kind of fans
Yep.
want is they want the gaps filled, where they want these kind of like fill in something to do with the story that we've missed, or maybe was touched on in the original kind of trilogy and the kind of later films and stuff. So fill in the gaps and expand the universe as it is now, but let's keep it fun, let's keep it entertaining, let's just roll with it as a franchise, but let's stick with some of the original stuff as well. Like you said, the expanded universe, there's a wealth of stories in there that could be told, like the rebuilding of the Jedi Order and stuff like that, which you read about in the expanded universe. That's something I'd love to kind of see. I mean, obviously, in the kind of later films, we had Luke in exile and stuff. I'd love to kind of see him, before kind of like as he's kind of rebuilding the Jedi Order a little bit. And I know we kind of saw him in the Mandalorian a little bit, but that type of stuff, I'd love to definitely watch more of it.
Hell yeah.
So fingers crossed. Yeah,
Someday, but not today, sadly.
yeah,
All we
yeah,
need is a
exactly.
hardcore super fan to be in charge of something.
Yeah, I mean, we can hope. We can hope. I know there's been a lot of kind of speculation about Disney nowadays, and the direction they're going in, especially with the likes of the Marvel films that have, I think, the last few have flopped, which is it's terrible to kind of see because they built something really fantastic with the Marvel universe. So I'd like to think that they'll get back on track and go back to delivering like fantastic kind of movies, because I mean they have fantastic franchises worth billions. So just keep rolling with it, to get back on track.
The problem is burnout. Like, how many
Yeah,
times do I want to see something from that same series? Like, yeah, probably as a child, I would love it. But
yeah,
even still, like, so, I mean, what's the best way to put it? Like, it'll come in cycles where it'll come in and out of
yeah,
vogue and like people will like it. So, like, when you and me were children, because you're roughly the same age as me, Teenage
yeah.
Mutant Ninja Turtles was popular.
Absolutely, yeah. Loved it.
Then it went out of style. A few years later, like they come out with like so we probably would have been like probably late teens or early 20s. They came out with like
Yeah,
a new series of movies. Kids loved it, and we were all of us were just kind of like, this isn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from my youth. Where's
yeah,
April? How dare you all?
yeah,
Like
yeah. Exactly.
something like that. And and then that there's a short resurgence in those. It goes away. Now I think there's like a newer one. And so like it's got to come in
Yeah,
cycles, and they have to learn that instead of like if we just keep producing and producing, they'll never get sick, and we're always going to make money.
yeah, yeah. It's fair. It needs a bit of breathing room. I think we saw that peak when it
Mhm.
came to like Endgame and the Infinity War and stuff like that. I mean, that was fucking monumental. But how do you build on that? Like, how can you outdo that? and I don't know if you can, maybe you can, like, with something really, really fucking epic, but like all these newer films in the later kind of phases after that, it's hard to kind of see the direction they're going in, like you've some okay films with good stories and stuff like, but what is it building to, because we're hinting at Thanos for loads of films, and that was absolutely epic. Where do you go from now? Really, is the question. Like, what? How can you top that?
Deadpool.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to
Deadpool is
see.
how you build off of that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's huge. Like, I mean, that's a fantastic kind of direction they've gone with it. I'm very excited to see kind of Deadpool and Wolverine, which I think will be absolutely amazing. And even the trailer that dropped at the Super Bowl there looked absolutely crazy. Just seeing the blades, in the shadow and stuff like. So yeah, can't wait.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Now,
so
I think they have tons of good options too. A lot, same thing. Like, it's not expanded universe. Like, they have like 30, 40 years of comic books to choose from and
yeah,
storylines and things like that. So
absolutely.
they can do some interesting things. I think the DC universe one is kind of screwed because
Yeah,
we had such great movies, and then they're like, nope, we're not making the money we want, so we're going to copy Marvel. I'm like, no, you don't want to copy Marvel. You want to
yeah,
be your own thing. Like,
yeah,
just
yeah,
be fucking the DC that we love. Be the Dark Knight. Be actually dark about it, and like, all that
yeah.
wonderful stuff.
So much potential. Absolutely. It just seems, yeah, I think they're kind of, it's runner up kind of mentality where they're seeing kind of Marvel and they're trying to emulate that, but they're by betraying their original vision, it's messing the whole thing up. I mean, they already had it kind of
Uh,
set up with the Justice League. You had the Justice League characters, and then they released a new Batman film, who isn't kind of like Ben Affleck, which is kind of resetting it. And I mean, I love the Joker films as well, but it's just, it seems like they're relying too much on kind of Batman and Joker when you've got so many other characters. Like, I mean, what's his name? Henry Cavill. I mean, he was a fan
yes.
favorite of Superman, and then he's gone from the role. And you're going to reboot all that all over again. Why do all that when you could just commit to the original storyline and expand, create your universe out of that? So it's. I think they're confused. Um, but yeah, it's a shame considering we all grew up watching the Batman films and they were absolutely fantastic for the most part. So yeah,
So,
be
did you
interesting to see
ever
where they're
see
going.
all the insanity from like the Justice League, like how that one came about and how the director's cut came out?
Did I heard about it a little bit, and I saw the director's cut afterwards, which I thought was absolutely fucking brilliant, and it made more sense compared to the original kind of film. But I didn't hear what the logic was behind it or anything.
So they changed the movie on him when they released it. Is what
Yeah,
happened. So the guy, the director, his name is blanking on me, and I should really fucking know it.
Zack
But
Snyder, isn't?
yes, Zack Snyder. So he's the same guy that made 300 and a couple
Gotcha.
other fantastic movies. Like,
Yeah,
fucking great storytelling, artistic as fuck, like
yeah, yeah,
wonderful.
absolutely.
Uh, and so he made like the whole. He started building up that DC universe fantastically,
Yeah,
and it was leading to that, the Justice League. And
yeah,
so he made the Justice League and presented it to the studio, and the studio basically was just like, this isn't really the direction we want to go, and like they just changed it
yeah,
on him and then released it. All the fans got pissed, and they were like,
yeah,
this isn't what we want. We want what he came up with. Like, release it to us. And they eventually did, and it came out and everyone fucking loved it, except like the studio and critics for some fucking
yeah,
reason, which is another one of those like, fuck the critics, like, don't listen to anything they say. Like, there's a huge
yeah,
backlash with critics right now amongst actual fans of movies
yeah.
or TV shows, also series. And yeah, so that came out, and like everyone's just like, great, can we get Snyder back as a director leading the helm? They're like, nope.
That's crazy.
And
It's
it's
crazy.
just
Like, I
like,
mean,
all
he's
right,
fantastic at what he does. Yeah, it
yeah.
makes no sense.
And
Just let
so
him
he
do
just
what he
kind of said, all
wants.
right,
And I
fine.
mean, yeah,
Well, then he put
it's
out Rebel
madness.
Moon.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was supposed to be a Star Wars film. Like he originally wrote that as pitching a Star Wars trilogy of films, and they were
Mm.
like, no, no. So he's like, all right, I'll just do it myself then, create my own world. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a great kind of film. Looking forward to the second one now. think it's coming out soon. So I mean, just goes to show he has that magic touch that he can kind of just create brilliant films. So just give him
Fuck
whatever money
yeah.
he asks and just let him do it. Yeah,
Now the other thing I like about him is since he actually does like art stuff,
yeah,
uh the guy that he brings in, well, he used to bring him in for like a trainer for the movies. Mark
yeah,
Twight used to be like a famous mountain climber in the 80s
cool. Yeah,
and or well, the 90s to some extent too. But that guy like owns a gym and like other stuff and like actually explains the process of getting people like in shape for movies and stuff. So it's not just like, oh, we loaded him up with steroids and like didn't give him food for a day for
yeah,
like Henry Cavill and stuff for like the Superman scenes, but actually
yeah,
like talks about the training. So like I don't know how what it's like over there, but like the men's health magazines are like do this workout to look like the dudes from 300 when that movie came out. And it's just like
yeah,
this guy like wrote in his journal every day everything that all of them did. He's like that's not what happened at all. And then he'll like
yeah,
just release his journal of like the training program and dialogue. He's like, 90% of being a fucking movie trainer is being these people's therapist.
yeah. Fair point, actually. Yeah, yeah. He's bringing a
Yeah,
degree of
so
psychology to it. Yeah, it's really good.
yeah, basically when fuck, I forget that lady's name. The lady who was married to Johnny Depp who went through all that trial stuff.
Oh, Amber Heard, is it?
Yes, that why am I so bad with names today? But when she was Miss Marvel or whatever she was, like
Yeah,
in the first one, he's like, I was her therapist. I was, her trainer for like while she was filming that movie, and that's the time frame she was going through all that shit with Johnny Depp before like the trial came up. And like he's like, I
yeah.
didn't know specifics, but she was in rough mental shape, and like you could see it on her, and she'd talk a little bit about it. And I was just like, holy crap.
It's crazy in context. Yeah, actually, yeah. You wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought like when all that was going on, she was filming that. So yeah, that's mad.
Mhm.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
was that was
everyone's got a day
crazy.
job still.
Yeah, true, true. Fucking hell, that's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
But
think
it's getting to be
thanks so much
about
for
that
coming on.
time of morning where I got to start getting ready
Yeah,
for
yeah.
work, my man.
No worries, buddy. Yeah, I have to hop on to work now. I have a lovely 8.5 hour shift to look forward to. So, yay. But
Yeah,
thank you
about
very
the
much for
same over
having me
here.
on.
Hey, thanks for having you.
Look, I hope it goes
Me,
smooth for you.
thanks for being on. Yeah.
No problem at all.
All right.
All the best, and you have a great day. Brilliant chatting to you, all right?
Thank you. Hey, you too, man. You have a great day too.
Ciao,
All right.
pal. All the best. Good.
Well, bye.